start like that. I don't want to start like that.
All right, this is week. What do we know?
Oh yeah, I don't. We're not going by weeks anymore. We're not going by weeks anymore. This is a 10-month program. We can't go by weeks. It is a week. We're over 2 months into the program, right?
Yeah. No.
Yeah. Oh no,
Yeah.
we're definitely over 2 months. We're almost at 3
Almost
months.
at 3 months.
We're at 2.5 months right now into the program, and we are just I'm not born for the camera. For this,
Okay, we're almost 3 months into the program. We just finished our project, so we wanted to talk a little bit about everything that we experienced with that in terms of the help that we got from our professors and what we had to do and just things like that.
Right. So remember, our boot camp is split up into 5 modules, and the first module is either just ending or coming to an end, or it has just ended or something like that. I'm assuming because 10-month program, 2 months per module, I would think, something like that. So we have officially just gotten done with the Ruby section, the just play.
Yeah.
We've officially just gotten done.
I don't like this so far.
I know, this is really bad.
This is not good right now.
We've officially just gotten through the vanilla Ruby section. And we are starting to move into other curriculum now. So our final project for this module was a command line application. So the whole purpose of it was we had to use an API or application program interface or scrape from a website to pull data and use that data in our application in whatever manner we wanted to do.
Basically turn that data into objects and make each class interact with each other based on those objects.
So if you know anything about object-oriented program, you'll understand what that means. Otherwise, you won't. Tell the people what they want to hear.
I think it was definitely a good experience. Helped me learn a lot more just about code in general. It definitely shows you that you need to be confident in yourself while coding, because it's easy to get overwhelmed because it's just so much information, so much data sitting in front of you. I think the instructors did a really good job helping us in any way that we can. Cohort lead Dakota was very, very helpful, as he always is. So I thought that was definitely really good.
You rock, Dakota.
I paired with someone on my project as well that helped me. So that was nice. So you have a lot of resources to get everything done. The internet always helps too.
So tell them about when you first started up the project to the end, what was the difference?
So when I first started the project, it was kind of just figuring out what it was I wanted to do. So I started mapping everything out. I think if you go into doing something like a CLI project without a plan, you're gonna kind of be screwed. Like, you need to know what you're doing and how you want to set it up, and it's going to change obviously, but I think so that's the way it started. I just started mapping everything out, figuring out what API I wanted to use, what classes I needed, what those classes should do. After that, it just went into actually setting up the bin file. So once I got everything set up, basically it was just coding, taking what I've learned, I've obviously learned a lot in the Ruby program, but it was a lot of information, so it's easy to get overwhelmed. But I think it's just something you need to remember is that you do know how to do it. You just spent the past 2 months learning it.
So my experience was similar. I mean, I started off, and it was setting up the environment for the project was more difficult than I was anticipating. Just because it was kind of the first exposure we had to setting up that specific type of environment. The project was a Ruby gem, so it's essentially something you can download and install using Ruby.
If you get it published.
If you get it published. So yes, setting up the environment was, after I got through that and figured out kind of the logistics of how the different files were interacting with each other, it wasn't that bad, honestly. It was just, I did the same thing as Phil. I mapped everything out. I literally drew it on a whiteboard. I drew it on a piece of paper, and then I created that drawing like online in an online whiteboard. And so I saved it as a PDF. So I had that map kind of, that map, I can actually show it. It kind of explains how program is interacting, the inner workings of the program is interacting based off of what the user is doing. That definitely helped because when we were going in to start to create it, I knew exactly what I needed to create. It was just a matter of figuring out how to create it. Overall, project wasn't that bad. Once again, the communication from our instructors and the amount of time, or from our instructor, Dakota, the amount of time that he puts in to help us is overzealous in a good way. And it's really good. It's good so far. Overall, everything's very good so far.
Yeah, I think it's good to remember too that this was the first project that we've made, so
it's small scale too.
It doesn't need to be perfect. The code doesn't need to be written all that well. It just needs to kind of work, just so we can get an idea of actually creating something. And because I was thinking about redoing it because I didn't like the way the code was written. It did work, but I didn't like the way it was written, so I was gonna redo the project. And our I don't even know what to call it, motivational coach that we get.
Educational coach.
Educational.
Motivational coach.
Teaches us motivation
Our therapist.
Our educational coach told me, she kind of explained that to me. She's like, this is the first thing you've ever created. It doesn't need to be perfect. She thinks that I should just move on. So probably gonna do that. Don't use a PC if you're doing a boot camp.
Don't use his PC.
Use a Mac.
If you're gonna use, there's nothing wrong with Windows. If you're gonna use a PC, make sure that it's solid state. Make sure that it just has a reasonable processor. You just don't want a slow computer when you're coding because you're bouncing back and forth between all these windows and you want it to work really fast because when you're coding, you're just like, I gotta do this thing right now. And if it's not gonna work, if your computer's gonna be slow or freeze, you just get frustrated.
Yeah, I just got a Mac and my life is like 10% less stressful now.
10% less.
Yeah, it's still pretty stressful.
Still pretty stressful. That's a low margin, buddy.
So next we're getting into SQL. That's what we're currently on right now. We're not going to stay on it that long, so I don't think it's
not super
very comprehensive section. But it's interesting. I like it a lot because it's the first time we're being introduced to the back end. So we're kind of in the terminal more, working internally in the computer, and I like it a lot. And I think it's a little less abstract than Ruby, which is a nice change.
Yeah, so essentially what SQL is, so when we were using Ruby, all this data we were getting, whether we're asking the user to type in something like their name, and then we're using that name later on the application, that data won't be saved when you close out of the application and you load it up again the next time. It's gone. It's only saved for that one session that it's being used for. But with SQL, a database, now we can suddenly take data and store it somewhere. So next time when someone loads up the application, things like their name, so take Facebook for example, their profile, their name, their interests, their friends, their messages, everything's saved in a database. So it's kind of cool to get into something, a different language, because SQL is its own language that correlates with the kind of the interface that we're creating. So yeah, and we're definitely gonna do more coding videos. That one was fun to make. We're also gonna be doing some interview videos with other students in our cohort, and then possibly some other individuals, but we'll save that for a surprise just in case it actually happens.
That'd be exciting.
But yeah, interviews so you can get more perspective from people who aren't us and see how it varies.
Yep.
Other than that, that's it. Short video this week. So thank you for watching, and we will see you
sometime.
Sometime, not on Sunday.